And Olive, the best thing I can tell Kenyans is to exercise some bit of patience. Wafula Chebukati and his team being late at these addresses, they have consistently promised a particular hour and they move past it by an hour or so. That latest announcement at 21:30 hours last night was the last piece of communication. We are awaiting to hear when next he will be addressing the nation, and indeed many Kenyans across the length and breadth of this globe, about 10,000 of them who voted in the diaspora, many of them just closing their polling stations in the United States and Canada in the last 5 hours or so, because by the time the rest of East Africa and Africa ideally were closing their polling stations, many of those voters in the United States and Canada were 8 hours behind us and their polls were opening. And we've seen critical figures coming out of that diaspora vote, especially in the United States, which had 3 polling centers in Washington, D.C., in New York, and also in Los Angeles. Some of those numbers coming out of those that are being relayed by the IEBC as we speak currently. And like you correctly say, Nation.Africa is not skipping a beat in terms of all those forms coming in and just tabulating to Kenyans how those numbers are trickling in and giving projections of how this vote 2022 is looking like. So, Olive, not much is happening here. Many are waiting for Wafula Chebukati to say something, if nothing at all, and just come and stand there and tell them all is well. Many are holding on to their collective breath and waiting for that hour when he will be making that critical announcement. We know in the county and in the parliamentary and also in the county assembly seats, there have been some significant upsets. Critical players from the big 2 coalitions or the big parties have been felled, and with new entrants coming into the fold and just proving that many Kenyans are now not really aligning themselves to party affiliations or who they know, but possibly looking into, have you been tried, have you been tested? If you have failed that test, then maybe it is an opportunity to give somebody else that chance to lead them. And talking about the issue of voter turnout, many Kenyans were hoping that by that 9 p.m. address, he would be giving us detailed breakdown of how things have happened. He was non-committal on giving those details yesterday, because he noted that in some areas, like in Kakamega County, where there were issues with those KIMS kits, and some places where the voter register, some of the people who had showed up in the polling stations were not able to be easily identified. Polling started really, really late, and up to 9 p.m. many of them were just in the dying hours of almost being closed. So maybe in an address early this morning, we are not at this moment knowing whether it will be 7, 8, 9, 10 or 11 or 1 p.m. like they did yesterday, but many Kenyans are hopeful, and I can probably project and say that before the noon hour ends, we shall have a direction from the IEBC on when, where, how that communication will be relayed to Kenyans, as much as we are across the length and breadth of this great republic, giving you details of the rural and the county polls as they are happening. But one critical election that is happening this morning is in Eldas constituency in Wajir County. That did not take place yesterday, and IBC says that was fully a security situation, nothing in their control at that moment. So we are hoping that our correspondent in that part of the Great Republic will be able to bring you those details, as hopefully polls open at 6 a.m. at this hour for people in that constituency to be able to participate in from the MCA to the presidential vote, which they did not get that opportunity to do so yesterday, Olive and Dennis.